The 2024 edition of the Electric Vehicle Road Trip Africa promises to be bigger this year. For the first time, the event makes a stop in Gqeberha at the launch of the 2024 event in Cape Town last week. It was announced that the Automotive Industry Development Centre, Eastern Cape, has signed up as a partner. The drive seeks to highlight a step into green energy, pushing for more environmentally friendly cars within the market. Well, for more on this partnership and the road trip, we're now joined via Zoom by Chief Executive for the Automotive Industry Development Centre in the Eastern Cape, Thabo Shenxane. Thanks so much indeed for joining us. And this sounds very, very exciting to see this e-vehicle road trip swinging by the Eastern Cape.
Yes, thank you very much, Peter, and thank you very much to your viewers. Yes, it is exciting for us to finally be able to have this road trip making a stop in Gqeberha in the Eastern Cape. I think mainly because we are into high gear now in promoting electric vehicle, in promoting green economy. And as a province that hosts the largest manufacturers that export cars in the country, we have made it a point that we are part of the transition so that we do not get left behind by what is going on globally.
So should the current manufacturers and their employees there be worried about this electric revolution, because we're still making cars of the old kind?
Well, not really worried. I think the one thing that is bothering us at the moment as an industry and is a slow pace of making sure that the new policy on new energy vehicles is completed by Parliament. Fortunately, we got to hear that the date of the sitting of Parliament would be April, and we hope that our legislators would make sure that happens, because it provides policy certainty to have the right policy framework and the right incentive. So in that regard, because the country has already started the process of drafting legislation and policy that's going to drive the transition towards electric vehicles, we are crossing our fingers that our government makes those announcements pretty soon. And that will provide comfort to the OEMs, it will provide comfort to the investments in the future, and by extension, provide comfort to the jobs that we currently have in the industry.
All right, this sounds like something you might have discussed at your recently hosted EV, electric vehicle roundtable in Gqeberha. Talk to us about that roundtable. What were the issues that came on the table? I'm pretty sure policy was one of them, but what else came through?
It was top of the list. Policy and incentives were top of the list, Peter. We were fortunate to have the Department of Trade and Industry join us at our Indaba, and we had industry captains who were there, and people who are specialists in a number of other activities within the EV space. So policy and incentives was one topic. We discussed extensively the issue around electric vehicle skills, because as we transition, we also want to create the necessary skills that could be consumed by the industry going forward. The third topic that we discussed at length was the issue around infrastructure. And here I'm referring to infrastructure for electric charging stations, infrastructure for renewable energy projects, because these are critical in activating these kinds of projects.
So who is responsible for building these electric charging stations, for example?
Look, currently we have a number of charging stations spread around the country, but mainly on your national routes, route from Durban to Durban to Joburg to Cape Town, but those national routes there. So you can drive your EV from Johannesburg all the way to Cape Town. You will see a number of charging stations and vice versa. The problem we have now is if you come into a province like the Eastern Cape, which carries certain characteristics, including it being rural, There is not investment that you see that much. But fortunately, our Premier and our government in the province has taken a decision to install charging stations around the province so that we could encourage Peter Ndoro, who's got an electric vehicle, to be able to drive from Bloemfontein all the way to East London or to Mthatha without hassles. So the initial investment that you have in the country has been a private sector-led investment. Now you are seeing the appetite of the provincial government of the Eastern Cape, for instance, coming on board. So we are prepared now. We've been given a mandate by the province to set up these charging stations around the province. And we hope to have that done by the end of the financial year.
All right, so let's talk about the future then, because electric cars still run almost like luxury vehicles in terms of price. So ordinary people like me, it seems a bit more of a discussion of wealthy people rather than ordinary people on the ground. How do we get included and join this electric vehicle bandwagon?
It all starts at that policy level that I referred to earlier, Peter. Once we put that to bed, I think there will be clarity on how much of these electric vehicles we can import or how many of them we could build in the country. There are specific areas like the high import duties that they are attract at the moment, which make them very unattractive to ordinary citizens like myself, for instance, to own one. So you are right, at the moment it's those that can afford to import them, but the future that carries an environment that's suitable for us to be able to import them on the one end, but also produce them locally on the other hand, is what is now hinging upon the policy framework that we are all waiting for. So we are hoping that our government will make those announcements soon on the import duty regime, on the incentives regime, basically to encourage the investment on charging stations, investment on lithium battery manufacturing. And I think if you can have a balanced package of incentives, you will be able to see an upswing in terms of consumption and also affordability in terms of price. And then we can begin to consume. At the moment, it's still, yes, those that can still afford them at the upwards of 1 million rands and above.
All right. I think you may have answered my next question in a way. This partnership with Electric Vehicle Road Trip Africa, how did it come about? And come the end of it, what will success look like?
So we were introduced to them last year, at the end of last year, at an event in Pretoria. It's an event that it started in 2019 in South Africa. And when we looked at what it offers in terms of major awareness programs that it runs with, the media campaign that follows the road trip, I think it's a 9-day road trip, stop and go. The marketing of the country, the launch of the electric charging stations. So it carries a lot more than just the cars moving around. You also have different manufacturers demonstrating the different vehicles that they are building and they're importing into the country. So as a producing and an exporting province, just a little bit over 70 years now, we felt we cannot be left out of this exciting awareness program that the EVRT team has been running. So we made contact with them and we signed up. We signed up specifically because on the one end, it's important for us to have the Eastern Cape logged into national debates and national narratives and dialogues. And this is a key one in the automotive industry globally. It's not just a local thing. It's a global discussion that's ensuing. So this brings that attention to the Eastern Cape. But also secondly, we have a beautiful province in the Eastern Cape which we could use through this event to market in terms of its potential for tourism, its culture, and so forth and so forth. And so this is just one stop that will take place in February. We're discussing with our stakeholders whether we should, once we've installed all our charging stations, maybe late next year, we could run an Eastern Cape tourism EV road trip of some kind to use that to also market the province, as it were. So we couldn't we couldn't leave ourselves out of this because
Yeah.
the province is very, very important in the country.
Well, as someone who's traveled to the province many times, it is a beautiful province, well worth visiting, and let's hope people get out there
Yes.
and see this EV road trip as part of that experience. Thank you so much indeed for joining us tonight, and good luck with this project.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for your time.
Good night. All right, that's the Chief Executive of Automotive Industry Development Centre in the Eastern Cape, Thabo Shenxane, who's talking to us about this electric vehicle road trip Africa going through Gqeberha in 2024.